So Nate, it's not been the smoothest start to this Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. Of course, we had a session stopped after 8 minutes, then another session delayed by 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah, at least that time.
Yeah, and then the fans told to leave before the session actually got underway. So of course we had all of that on Thursday night. Then today, Friday, we heard from F1 that there was a statement coming out. When it finally arrived, it was there, but there wasn't much of an apology, was there?
No, and it was a long statement as well. So we spent a long time searching through it. Really, really strange, I think, because the first line of that I think should have been, "We're sorry for the disappointment caused to fans." And I think that what most people are saying is that statement really it just seemed to misread the room a little bit, because ultimately people were upset yesterday, not with the drain cover coming loose, because I think that was an unforeseen circumstance from a new race. We've seen it at established races as well. But I think it was the fact that there's not really been any ownership of the situation from Formula One, who obviously in this case are the promoter. So yeah, very, very strange. And then I think, just to add insult to injury, the fact that then we got another statement which said that instead of a refund, in lieu of a refund, the fans that had a one-day ticket would get that $200 voucher for merch, not just Formula One merch, not Formula One merch, but for Las Vegas GP merch. So if you did watch just 8 minutes of running, you'll probably you've got a $200 memento now if you want to cash in on that, of course. Which I just think the whole thing was really, really clumsily done, and I think from Formula One's perspective, handled pretty badly from a comms perspective.
Yeah, there was a nice sequin jacket I saw in one of the Las Vegas stores, so I don't know, maybe people get their hands on that. Given the way that F1 came into this event, they hyped it up so much, they made such a big thing of it, they had the launch show and everything. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? You then have the first actual day of track running, and so many of the drivers said, look, just let me get in the car, enough of this showmanship and everything, I just want to get in the car and get it done, and of course, then it didn't happen. I just say, not entirely their fault with the drain cover, but it just feels like the way that they hyped it up, then the way that it all fell flat, is not a good look for Formula One.
It's not, and you're right about the hype. I mean, obviously Max Verstappen coming into this week was literally stood just over there, just away from us, when he said that it was 99% about the show this weekend, 1% about the sport, and funnily enough, they got a bit of both wrong yesterday with that. So, I don't know, I think that it's not going to define the race, hopefully, if you're Formula One. It's not the sort of thing where everyone's going to talk about that, but I think it's left a sour taste in people's mouths, and if things go wrong from this point, if the qualifying or if the race doesn't go by without a hitch, then I think they're okay. But if there's more problems, people remember this, and I think the biggest takeaway I had about the whole thing was a criticism of this race has been that really Formula One has run roughshod over people in Vegas. They've come in here like a wrecking ball. They really haven't, it seems, given that much compassion to people here in Vegas, and the way they treated the fans yesterday, it just kind of seemed to fit into the same thing. So, I don't know, all round it just adds to that feeling of I guess, an unedifying feeling about how the whole process has been.
Yeah, and this race isn't really, and we kind of knew this coming in, not really a race for your average fan.
Yeah,
this is a race for your high rollers, people that are spending a huge amount in the casinos. I mean, I think the casinos actually did quite well out of it last night, because everyone left here and they had nowhere to go, right?
Well, they had people with loose change hanging around as well who were like, let's get rid of some of this stuff on the tables. But yeah, I think, there was some fan interviews I saw where there were two guys who'd driven 10 hours, to get to Vegas, and they had a one-day ticket. If that's it's obviously, I don't think those people are going to come back to watch Formula One again. And ultimately, that's, this race was about appealing to the US fan base, but also making new fans and being glitzy and glamorous. And in terms of the on-track product, it looks spectacular. So from that point of view, that's what Formula One came here for. They've ticked that off. But yeah, for them, I think to have got it so wrong, I think that it's just widened that gap between the elite and the high rollers that you mentioned and the ordinary fan, because I just don't get the impression this event is for the ordinary person, and they haven't done anything to disprove that yet.
Okay, well, let's end on a high at least for Formula One. How spectacular has this race looked on TV and from what you've seen around the city as well?
Yeah, it's looked amazing. I think in terms of the street circuit, I can't work out how much I like the actual track itself. It's quite basic, and I don't know. We'll have to see when the race is on. But yeah, the stuff that you see around the circuit is unbelievable. And F1 cars, we know, look great under floodlights. They look great when the sparks are coming out, and that has everything here. So, and the sphere's great. That keeps lighting up in different colours, like a red flag, it goes red. So they have lent into that, and I think that's quite nice. And yeah, I think the coolest thing is going to be turn one, when they're all going down at the start on Saturday night. That's going to be amazing. So I think they've done well there.
Yeah, I stood trackside of the strip during a couple of the practice sessions, and it is impressive, and it's just surreal, actually.
Yeah.
You're there, you've got the casinos around you. I was right next to the Paris casino with the fake Eiffel Tower and everything, and then you look over your shoulder and there's cars zipping past at 220 miles per hour. You got people getting every vantage point, escalators and stuff like that. You see people going up an escalator, down an escalator, just to get a view.
I heard about that yesterday. Were there many people there when you were out on track?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot. And there's a couple of bridges. There was a lot made of bridges being covered up and everything, and that is true. There's a lot of those around there. But there's one just before the final corner that leaves the strip. And right there, you've got lots of people kind of just walking either very slowly or dawdling a little bit. You got security moving on a little bit, but just to get that view. And what a view it is.
That final corner is spectacular. The speed they carry through that. So that part of the circuit, I think, is fantastic.